start recording 1:30. Let's see how it goes. It's always a beautiful time to have someone like you on the platform. And so we're just going to go straight to Recording in progress. Good day, everyone. You're welcome to today's Spy Show. What a great privilege to have someone doing awesome things in the business world. And I'm glad to have him here today in the studio. So get your, I believe the weather today in London is good enough. What do you think?
When weather is great today.
And
Yes,
the
of course.
case yesterday was a bit crazy.
Yesterday was good. Personally, I like hot weather.
Wow, are
So,
you serious?
oh yeah.
Is
So
it that it
I'm
reminds you of what?
basking in the sun, and so for me, it's great. I don't like the winter at all. So
That's interesting.
yeah, so
Okay,
so
fine, that's good. And so before I get carried away, because this is just a jolly good fellow, the person we have today, uh, in today's show, Wake Up Like the Pie Show is actually where we bring professionals, entrepreneurs to share with us what they're doing globally, doing good, changing the lives of individuals, communities, organizations, solving problems, creative ideas, and building enterprise globally. When we bring people here, it's because we know they are what, should I call them, they are specialists, they are experts in what they do. And so I want you to get ready today, get your bottle of drink. I believe coffee will be too warm for this setting. So you just gonna get a cup, just get a drink and see how it goes. It's going to be very interesting. So we're going to go straight to our discussion right now as we invite a very important person to introduce himself. One thing I like to do here is get the people to introduce themselves, our guests to just tell us who they are, and then we get to know them better. So if you don't mind, I'm going to make, just give me a second, I'm going to do something right now. I think I have people getting connected from different part of the world. We are happy to have you join us today. What a joy, what a privilege. So there's going to be room for questions. You can just get ready for your question. But before we do that, we want to know the gentleman has got a baritone voice. He's not into entertainment, he's a businessman, but his voice is lovely too. I must say you've got a lovely voice, sir.
thank you very much.
But before I get carried away, Mr. Toyin, can you introduce yourself to lovely audience?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Omozwakwa. I would like to first of all say thank you for having me here today. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's wonderful to be on the Pi Show and on your platform. So thank you very much for that. Yes, my name is Oluwatoyin Odutayo. I currently work within the financial services industry here in the UK. I work specifically as in compliance, so as an anti-money laundering specialist in anti-financial crime. That's what I do currently. Yes.
That's interesting. So much to choose and so much, sir. And can you please take us um, through the journey and your professional career? You want to share with us?
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, my journey has been, like every other person, you've got ups and downs,
Yeah.
in terms of getting to where I am today. But what intrigued me most was, how I got into banking.
Wow.
I was in school at the time, and we had this program. It's an internship, a one-year
Okay.
internship.
Okay.
At the time, we call it industrial attachment, but it's basically an internship. I was opportune to work for, one of the prestigious banks in Nigeria at the
Okay.
time. Being in school, and I worked in both. So, for 6 months, I was in what they called at the time the management internal control unit, so internal control. That was what the specific bank named that
Wow.
department. And then I was also in clearing. Okay, so at the time, with CBN,
Okay.
clearing checks,
Yeah.
and all the payment instruments that came through the clearing system in Nigeria at the time for that particular bank. So that 1 year industrial attachment or internship, as it's called, shaped my view, shaped my thinking, it shaped my perception about banking. And very, very quickly, I knew that this is where, I wanted to be. This is the career path I wanted to take.
Very
And
interesting.
funny enough, at the time, as soon as, because after the 1 year internship, you went back to school
Okay.
to finish, the remaining of the 2 year program. So it was a 4 year program, 2 years, you go in for the internship, then you come back, you do the other 2 years. And right while I did that internship, I began to write the Chartered Institute of Bankers Nigeria professional exam.
Smart man. That's
Right,
good.
right there and then. So it was something that experience just changed it changed the whole trajectory, and I felt, yes, this is what I want to do. This is the career path I wanted to take. So that early experience, that early encounter, developed my.
But this is very interesting. I must say this. This is extremely interesting listening to what you just shared with us right now. Can there too, you're not doing a lot here in Europe, and I can tell you are a successful banker. You like it's when I say you look like money itself, and so every bank would be glad to have you work with them. Now, looking at the two financial ecosystem, how did you transit from one in Africa and you're doing awesomely well in Europe? How you doing? How did you transit?
Well, in terms of transition and where I got to, honestly, I think there has to be some divine providence behind that as well.
Okay.
Now, when you're talking of the two ecosystems, while the basic products, in terms of financial products,
Yeah.
are the same in terms of foundation. However, the it's different. The banking system here is different.
Yeah,
The
because
culture here
that's it.
is quite different from the culture back home.
Okay.
And one of the things in terms of adapting, when you get here, you need to be able to adapt. You need to be able to adapt to the culture here. You need to be able to leave behind, the culture back home.
Okay.
But then you've also got transferable skills. Like I said, if you're a banker there, you're a banker here. Yes, some of the products might be different in terms of, like here you're doing more of. So if you're doing maybe, swaps, options,
Yeah.
there's some, deep kind of products and services that are offered here where back home is not as deep as here, but then one should be able to adapt.
So listening to you, I can tell you've gained a lot of experience, exposure, and you've got the right education, which provides a tool for self mastery. Because when you
Yes.
talk about self mastery in any field, you're talking about education, exposure, and experience, and experiences which I see you've gotten all three in place. So if you're to sit before the president of an African country, what will you say to them about the banking sector?
I would say the banking sector needs to evolve. A lot is being done back home, in terms of,
Okay.
or on the African continent.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of in terms of culture, in terms
Okay.
of products, in terms of services, in terms of the amount of capitalization and funding that are available to carry out big ticket transactions. A lot of, in the area of mergers and acquisitions, it's big ticket.
Okay.
That's where a lot of, heavy ticket transactions are done here. Banks also can make a lot of money from, that kind of providing those kind of services. So
okay.
yeah, so we need to be able to develop and create an environment where, the right economic environment where the banks can, not only thrive, but then they have enough funding and enough capital to be able to create these big ticket transactions. It's a multiplier effect. Mergers and acquisitions sometimes can lead to, activities on the stock market. Do you understand? That, brings a lot of money for investors. There's a lot of back and forth that triggers multiplier effect into the economy, goods, services. People can buy, people can sell, it's a whole.
Because if you get it right with the banking services in any country, you can talk about the economic growth of that country.
Definitely.
And so I think the developing economy like Nigeria needs a lot to we've got a lot to learn from people like you.
Of course, definitely,
Okay,
definitely.
and so that takes me. So, what were some of the key decisions that have shaped your progress so far in the banking sector?
Key decisions. So definitely, you need to know, where you very quickly you need to know, what you want to do.
Okay.
And where you want to get to.
Okay.
Like I, told you at the beginning, when I had that internship, at one of those banks in Nigeria, I very quickly knew that this is the path I wanted to take.
Mhm.
So and I think this goes for everybody, and it's not necessarily in terms of banking. It could be any sphere of life. You have to be very decisive. You've got to know this
Yeah.
is what I want to do. This is how I want to go about it. Okay. Now you've made up your mind. This is what I want to do. The next thing you need to think about is how am I
Okay.
going to get to where I want the things I want to do that, so and then you now start, thinking about, okay, what can I do? Some of those things could be education,
Okay.
so very quickly, like I said, I started the CIBN at the time, so Chartered Institute of Nigeria, Bankers of Nigeria, program. I did my ACC at the time. I'm a chartered internal auditor. Okay, and then of course I read, management subjects both at BSc and MBA level. So those are some of the things, and then you do professional exams in those areas. So for example, in my area, I have the ACAMS. Okay, so ACAMS is a professional certification in compliance.
Okay.
Okay, so Association of Certified Anti-Money Laundering Specialists. You also have the International Compliance Association, which you can do, and different fields. So for each field and for each area of endeavor in life, there are certain things you need to build, okay, in terms of education. And then the skill set, you need to be able to develop those skill sets. Some of them will come from education and theory, some you will build on the way in terms of experience. And then others, you will just learn, like, being on, so for example, one of the things is you can have a mentor. Do
Okay.
you understand? You get someone that has done it before, or people that you can look up to within that industry that you're referring to or you're looking at, and then from there you begin to learn. So those things will help you to shape you. But at the very beginning, you need to know: is this what I want to do? Yes, this is what I want to do,
Okay.
and then go for it.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, yeah, the London School. This show is being put together by the London School of Global Entrepreneurship and Leadership, and I'm glad that many people are beginning to join online to just listen to the money man. But it's something, and why am I saying this? At the London School of Global Entrepreneurship and Leadership, we have some of our students are kings.
Yeah.
We have senior executives and directors in government across Africa. We have students from, at the moment, from 30 different African countries, and in Asia, we have students from Asian world and the rest of them. Now, there's one of the things we hear our students talk about is crime, financial crime, government agency. How do you manage financial crime? How it limits economic growth, and the inability for businesses to trust the country they want to go into, and for in the area of investment. So now, which is extensive experience in anti-money laundering
Yeah.
and financial crime compliance, what are some of the major financial crime risks facing business today?
Um, the major, so I'll give you a few,
Yeah.
and these are the major ones. Fraud
Okay.
is a major area where um, organizations should begin to look at. And one of the reasons why fraud is, one of the major financial crime risks we should be looking at is because it's evolving. The criminals are evolving every time. So you've got, AI-driven fraud. You've
Okay.
got deep fakes. And I mean, out there right now, you've got,
Is
you
that
know,
alarming in the banking sector now?
it is alarming. It is alarming because,
Wow.
yes, it is alarming, and we're beginning to see a lot of that. So these criminals are ahead, using your voice. They clone your voice, and someone calls you, you might think is a customer that is authorizing a transaction. Okay, so they've cloned that customer's voice. It could be fake identities. So there's a lot of things that are happening. Again, also with fraud, we've got cyber security related fraud. Where people come in and hack into your systems, and also try and fleece off your hard earned money.
Wow.
So in that area, fraud is very key. And even the government, the UK government, has said their number one priority in terms of financial crime right now is fraud. And recently, one of the current FATF president that has just been appointed as FATF president is from the UK, and even FATF, so the Financial Action Task Force,
Yeah.
is using fraud as their number one financial crime risk that they need to to target. Another one is advanced money laundering.
Money laundry, okay.
So advanced money laundering schemes, and so again, the criminals are ahead in terms of advanced money laundering. They could be using, cryptocurrencies, crypto assets, digital assets basically.
That is the interesting one. I hope African developing economy will be able to cope with.
Yeah, so because there are a lot of transactions, and there's nothing wrong. We must say there's nothing wrong in owning cryptocurrencies or digital assets, if it's properly and legitimately done. However, we find out that these criminals, are using, because it's not regulated. A lot of that space is not regulated, and so a lot of money laundering and
Money
shady
laundering,
things can
okay.
be done,
So,
underground.
what are the mitigation framework to help out with that?
Well, one of the mitigations is regulation. That the authorities need to find a way to be able to, a balanced way, being
Okay.
able to regulate, firms that are going to be dealing in those areas. Even and then knowing your customer. There's nothing as good as
KYC,
knowing your
okay.
customer, understanding their business. You understand. It's just that, how do the firms, like you rightly said, get it right? Because as the firms are coming up and trying to, find ways to mitigate some of these, risks, you find out that the criminals themselves they're even way ahead of the firm. So
Wow.
it's something that is,
So it's a serious issue we should all be looking at, especially for developing
definitely,
economies.
definitely. And then you also got sanctions evasion. So with the current state of geopolitics in the world and the way everything is happening, so you've got certain nations and countries of the world can be trying to evade sanctions, using things like what we call, the shadow fleet, where they move money or oil,
Yeah, oil,
basically,
yeah,
from one place to
yeah,
another,
okay.
through means. And shadow fleet, you're in the dark, you are quiet, you are moving, you are but you are
It's
evading
gonna come up, yeah.
but you are evading sanctions. You understand? So
Mm.
I think those are the key financial crime risks that any organization will be facing,
Wow,
faces
this
currently.
is so interesting. I hope developing, because sometimes when I hear stories like this and conversations like this just make me not bored, not scared, but bothered for developing economy, because with great opportunities come great risks, and
Yes.
but you also want to maximize this opportunity to increase the fortune of either your organization or your country. Or we hope that the Nigerian government, and I'm sorry, I'm using Nigerian government for those of you that may be watching this in the future, because it's one of the largest economy in Africa, and most of our students tend to be from Nigeria. We also have students from Accra and like Zambia, South Africa, Tanzania. These are people that are interested in and solving the problem of their countries, and they want to see solutions. And the banking sector is very important here, playing a very pivotal role in solving the problem. So we're going to see, for those of you online, your word's going to come up soon. Was yours going to continue with the YouTube going on? But it's something so important, and I hope we get that right very, very, very soon. Something extremely important. We're going to be talking about technology and AI.
Yes.
This is very, very interesting, technology and AI. How do you think, sir, we're going to cope with technology and AI in today's world?
Well,
And especially, let me even get it. You see, you're talking about emerging technology in the banking, compliance, financial crime, everything you just said earlier.
yes.
Are you going to lose your job?
That's $1 million question, to be honest.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we're being told, it's being said that
Okay.
AI would help us. Okay, AI would aid.
Yeah.
AI is going to aid. The jobs that we're doing. I
Yeah.
believe that there would be some amount of job losses. We need to face the facts.
Okay.
We can't deny that. Okay, now what or how big or large that
Large.
impact is going to be honest, I can't tell you.
Okay.
But there would be some casualties,
So
definitely.
let's look at the benefit now. So what's the benefit with
So the benefits are that some of these things that I told you.
yeah.
Okay, so it's speed. AI is
Okay.
going to bring speed in terms of, um, trying to be ahead of the criminals,
Yeah.
because while you are still trying to do certain things, maybe screening, you're trying to do your due diligence, it takes time to go from one person to another. I think AI would, the there'll be speed of execution. Then in terms of execution is going to be real time,
Okay.
online real time. So where you're doing
Recording in progress.
periodic screening here and there, it's going to be online. It's going to be, the system will always be, searching and doing due diligence there and then.
Wow.
So as news and information and as data is coming out, the AI as well will be analyzing and getting every piece. So that way, the AI can help firms to, basically um, match or at least even be a step ahead of,
Okay.
these criminals. And I believe that AI is going to, there will be a merging of themes.
Okay.
So you've got fraud, which is a risk. You've got anti-money laundering, which is another risk.
Okay.
And those two typologies are somehow always treated, separately. With the coming of AI,
You see it
I am
merging?
I foresee that's this is my personal opinion,
Okay.
because the AI engine would be able to do everything, all at once. So I see a coming together of those teams. So
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 you
so
have
there's a
more
school of thought,
efficiency in the
yes,
banking sector.
correct, and there's a school of thought that calls it FRAML. So you've got
Okay.
AML. So
Yeah.
you've got fraud. So
Yeah.
fraud and AML for FRAML or FRAML.
Okay.
So that you might see that typology coming together with the use of AI in the next
So
few
I
years.
prepare that you people in the compliance and risk management, are you people ready for the future crisis that may, because AI comes with a lot of benefits, but
Yes.
we also know there's going to be some fallout. How ready are you people? Are you people?
There would be some fallout. I'm sure you've heard about some of the AI that have left their sandboxes recently,
Yeah.
that have gone to hack
Yeah.
other.
Others.
So I think governance,
Okay.
AI governance,
Key.
that's the very key thing. So there has to be AI governance. We have to make sure that the AI is able to work within certain parameters so that it doesn't go rogue and it doesn't do what it's not meant to be doing, or it shouldn't be doing things without maybe human instruction. I know the AI with machine learning and all of those things, language learning,
Okay.
and all the LLMs and stuff would it learns and begins to do things on its own. But there should be a safe, fail safe where um, the AI itself doesn't go rogue. So
Become
I think that for me is one of the things you
sack,
don't.
sack the
Yeah.
entire board of the bank.
Yeah, you don't want a situation whereby AI then, it's beginning to take over, humanity and doing things, on its own. But
Well,
yeah,
so that's good. That's good. Thank you for sharing that, because I'll tell you the truth. I understand you're doing a lot here for your organization, which I'm happy for what you do. But I just look at, I hope one of the leaders listening to me can say, okay, how do we get this person to come and talk? Because the financial institution in Africa, in Asia, needs to begin to talk about AI implication in the banking financial sector.
yeah.
We are not discussing that as much as we should.
I mean, and it's just not me. We have so many of us in the diaspora,
Yeah.
who have gained experience out
Okay.
here,
Okay.
working for various organizations, and we can use the knowledge we have,
Okay.
and bring that back to our various, countries on the African continent to help, further that discussion. So like I said, while AI is good and we should be using AI for, quite a number of our, activities. However, we should also ensure that there is governance, that there's that governance. We should be able to ensure that AI, is not something that can go rogue, or someone can program it to use
Yeah.
it to the disadvantage of another firm or organization. The way we Africans,
I
think
understand. Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So
It can be scary sometimes when you think of the potential, even
correct.
though the
Correct.
benefit is enormous. You just
But
want to,
yes, but look, to your point and to your question, there's
yeah.
so many of us, even on Zoom, I'm sure there are quite a number, or YouTube, watching where, to be honest, there are a lot of us that have the skill and expertise, and
We, we
where a lot of us are willing to, you
I'm going to
know,
hold you to that because there's so many things we're putting. There's a think tank we're working on called the African Financial Think Tank, and we're putting that together. We had a meeting with people from different part of the world. Came recently to the
yes,
LSGEL. We have the people. I don't think they'll be from serious government officials, and we're like, our discussion was that we need to get the diaspora to begin to talk together to see how we can encourage the, because it is for the good of even the United Kingdom if the diaspora comes together, activate the potential, and the developing nations like Africa, like Nigeria, Ghana, Zimbabwe, they can all have a sense of partnership, not the master servant kind of relationship, but partnership in progress. And we have people like you playing a strong role in that. That would be lovely. Will you be ready to be part of such things?
sure. Like I said before, there are so many of us here that
Okay.
have the skill and the expertise will be willing to, further this discussion, just to the benefit of, it's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Okay, like you said, it's partnership.
Yeah, it's partnership.
We live here, we're in the UK, the UK can benefit from that,
Yeah.
but our various African, countries back in the continent too can benefit from this. And, we form that partnership where, and just like I explained at the very beginning, all of these things have, an economic multiplier effect.
Yeah.
On,
I believe so. Actually, I believe that the greatest, I see the United Kingdom, the Commonwealth working Africa, and they talk about in the year 2050, 1 in 4 person will be from the African continent.
Yeah.
And so, irrespective of the sector, especially the banking sector, if you can have organizations like yours working with the African continent, it's going to be a win-win for both your organization and the African continent. I
oh
think
yeah,
that works.
definitely. Africa is the place to go.
Yeah.
A lot of the markets here are saturated, they are mature.
Yeah.
Africa is where, yes, there's risk, there's high risk, but as the saying goes, the higher the risk, the
Yeah.
higher the reward.
That's true.
So, and this is the time, to get into Africa. The population is young, is budding. There are a lot of entrepreneurs coming, out of Africa, especially in fintech, the AI
Yeah.
space, so in that area. And, if people are willing to invest and partner, why not, if not?
That'll be lovely. We look forward to having people like you on board. And so let's talk about something about the young professionals and immigrant community. I know
Yeah.
you've been in that phase in the past, and then you talk about trying to build successful career in the UK financial sector. And what skills, qualifications, and attitude would you recommend? Because I want you to speak to the students now. This is someone that's done, we have students that are going to be, those of you you that's watching from YouTube. Now, some of you have been asking these questions in some of our master classes. So, is the expert there? The expert is not in the studio? So, please, what is your recommendation?
Well, in terms of recommendations, it depends. Every career path, is different. So, every area would have its own qualifications, skills, education that they need to acquire.
Yeah.
So, but the basic principle that I'm going to talk about would
Okay.
probably apply to
Yeah.
to each one. And like I said before, the first thing is that you need to know what you want.
Okay.
You need to have a definitely to make up your mind, and you need to know that, okay, this is what I want. Okay, if you want to be an accountant, then you have to do something like, you have probably go to read school, read accounting or finance.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe as a basic, your BSc, and then of course then you delve into the professional qualifications. So like your ACCA in terms of accounting, or your ICMA, or your ACA. So all of those are qualifications that you can acquire. So in that area, if you want to go into compliance, for example, there are a lot of compliance qualifications in schools these days. And on the professional front, like I said, you have ACAM, so that is the Association of Certified Anti-Money Laundering Specialists. You have the International Compliance Association. ACAMS is is well recognized worldwide,
Okay.
more of a US qualification, but it's very well accepted
Okay. Yeah, in
worldwide,
the UK, well
everywhere in the
accepted.
world, ACAMS.
Okay.
And then in the UK one is the International Compliance Association. And then there are other, qualifications that you can get. In terms of skill set, for me, you also need to be able to, so communication is very important.
Yeah.
You must be able to learn how to communicate. You must be a team player. Okay, so you have to learn how to work with others. Okay, you need to be able to learn how to communicate. You need to be able to develop, leadership skills in certain areas. You need to be able to carry people along. So those are some of the attitudes that and you must be willing to learn.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
One of the ever constant things in life is you must be open to learning. Nobody knows it all, even
That's
the
true.
experts.
Yeah.
No one knows it all. You must be willing to learn. You must be able to, learn, because as you are going, you'll be going from, even within your journey in your career,
Yeah.
you'll be doing different things, little bits, and bobs here and there, which make you learn new things. And as you grow, you learn. At some point in your career, you'll be junior, you'll be learning things. At some point, you'll be mid-level, operational, leading teams. At some point, you need to transform to become strategic and, have that vision so you can sit on the board and
Okay.
lead companies. So, all of that, would play together. Another important thing is go to people that have done it. Identify people that, have been there, they've done that. If you have a mentor, you can learn from that mentor. Okay, that person can teach you through the ropes of what you'll get to where you're going faster.
That's true.
You get to where you're going faster, and you will not make the kind of mistakes
Yeah.
that mentor made. Ask questions. When you come, if you're an immigrant or you're new or whatever, ask questions. Ask the people that have done it before you. I've been there before you. How have you done this? What do I need to do? What I want to go into this area. What qualification can I, do into this area? Where will it propel me to,
Yeah.
etc. You need to have all of those things. And then for those that are already working in, there's a concept called sponsorship. I don't know how many people know about that concept called sponsorship. But sponsorship, while a mentor will teach you and probably, get you faster to, maybe where you want to go and things like that. A sponsor is someone that advocates for you. You see, in those rooms where you are not able to get into, the sponsor would, we have a project, we have something, oh, I know Mr. X can do this, or Miss X or Mrs. Y can do that. Do you understand? Oh, this person, oh, yeah. The person's always advocating for you. When it comes to maybe promotion, there's somebody that advocates for you. For someone that is probably senior, maybe influential, So sponsorship is, I learned that in one of the firms that I worked in previously, newly American concept. So you've got a coach, you've got a mentor, you've also got the sponsor. Sponsor advocates for you in rooms that you cannot go, in places you cannot go to. So the sponsor stands and says, I vouch for that person.
I'm a key believer of what you just said. Social investing and it's lovely.
Yeah, and then of course, for me personally, and this is me, everyone, to their own, but in addition to everything I've said, I believe so much in the spiritual dimension.
Yeah.
I believe so much in God.
Yeah.
I believe because you can plan things so well, but if you don't put them into God's hands, those things can fail.
Beautiful.
It's always, so after all said and done, make sure that you always put everything in God's hands.
Lovely.
Always put it in His hands. So those are the things.
And I love the way you ended, because I'm also a person of faith. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being bold about your faith. It's so beautiful to see. And so that's why I want to ask you this important question. You've delivered the TEDx talk. That's lovely. Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Okay. And you talked about on stopping human trafficking.
Yes.
What you are into the financial world.
Yes.
I want to find out what triggered your interest in this topic.
Okay, so I've always wanted to give a TEDx talk because I've always wanted to, use that as a launchpad to go into, public speaking and things like that, because that's another area that I would love to, develop as well. But what triggered me, maybe a few years before I gave that TEDx talk, I probably wouldn't have thought about it or wouldn't have been bothered. But you see, because it's not as if one hasn't been hearing about all this, modern slavery or,
Yeah.
trafficking, human trafficking, whether of, men or women or girls and things like that. But I think what really triggered me was having my daughters. I've got two daughters,
Yeah.
and seeing them grow, and me sitting back and thinking, God forbid, this can happen to anyone.
Wow.
There was something I watched in the US where a full grown woman, an adult, I mean, she was, I don't know, maybe 20s, 30s. She got kidnapped and was taken to Mexico.
Wow. Wow.
Do you understand? She managed to escape. I can't remember, I think it was, but it was a true life story. She managed to escape. There was even the Nigerian lady in that movie, or that thing, and it's a true life story. I can't remember now if the Nigerian lady was able. There was a few people she planned an escape, but this was after a few years, of being in slave, you know, labor and all of that kind of thing. So my daughters triggered that because I felt, God forbid, what if,
Wow.
and that kind of, so that triggered that particular topic because I could have taken any other topic to speak on. But when I saw that, that really hit home with me. And so that's why I talked about human trafficking. And it's something that is very passionate because to me, a lot of it still goes, undetected. And for those of you who don't know, and you may go and do this research, while a lot of trafficking takes place in, most parts of the world, and Africa, all those kind of places.
Yeah.
However, the country with the highest number of trafficked people, and you will not believe this, is the United States of America.
Interesting.
Yeah, you go and do the research. So that hit home for me. And you have people that have left their homes, traveled to. These are people that are not even kidnapped. These are people, your normal, adults. They're living normal lives and everything, and then all of a sudden, they find themselves in, a promise of a job. Oh, I've got a job in this place, and you go there and you then find out that it wasn't a job. It was organized crime, and they use them for, all sorts of unimaginable things to get money. They seize your passports, do this, do that. So a lot is happening in that space, and I think there's not enough um,
Awareness or what?
awareness about it. There's not enough awareness about it. In my TEDx talk, I can't remember the exact stat now, but if you know the amount of people in the UK that are trafficked everywhere, this is coming from UK government stat. You'll be shocked.
And I think there's a connection between that and financial crime too.
It is financial
Financial
crime.
crime.
So human trafficking is financial crime. And why is it financial crime? Because anything that any funds or any proceeds that you get that comes out of a criminal activity,
It's financial
it's
crime.
financial crime. Because that money is not clean money. It's
Yeah.
money that's coming from. So there's the original crime. You make money from it. That money is tainted. It's blood money. So that is the crime. So that's financial. So human trafficking is financial crime, but there's not enough emphasis, awareness or emphasis.
So are you seeing that as an advocacy you want to take for life, and is that
It's something that I want to do. I'm looking for, if I can get the right people, organizations to partner with, it's something that I'm willing to work on. Yeah. It's passionate to me.
I can see your face just
No,
shifted.
it is passionate.
It's passionate. I can see that it's personal to you.
It's passionate to me because I think of my daughters and I think of what world will I be leaving behind
Wow.
for them.
Wow. So I've got two more questions to ask you.
Yeah,
I
sure.
know I've taken a lot of your time today, but thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing with us. And I believe my students will be so glad to just, you're not just someone talking from the financial angle, the passion is there. And thank you for doing that.
Thank you very much.
So we'll talk about your profile combines an MBA in finance, significant professional qualifications. You got a lot of qualifications, that's the truth. And then we'll talk about civic leadership, and I'm seeing something unique about you now, your passion for humanity, and that itself is awesome to behold. And so,
Thank you.
so I want to find out how important has lifelong learning been to your career progression so far?
like I said before, you stop learning, you die. The day you stop learning is the day you die. You have to continue learning. And that's the lesson for anyone. Nobody knows it all. You have to be humble enough to learn. I learn even from those that are subordinate to me. I'm telling you, I learn from. I don't, even like in Nigeria, how in Nigeria,
Yeah.
where I'm the Oga.
Yeah.
Oga says it all. No, Oga has spoken. No, Oga no, Oga this, Oga that. Nah, you have to learn. You have to learn. So I even learn from those below me. If there's something I can learn, I learn. I don't say, oh, I'm older than you, or you're younger than me, or this or that, or no.
This is interesting.
So yeah, lifelong learning is it's absolutely important. You need to be humble enough to learn from others, and it doesn't matter who you're learning, because you don't know who God is going to use
Yeah.
to get you to where you want to get to. And if you look down on those people who are supposedly below you, your breakthrough might not come.
And that's very interesting. That's true. So true. So true. And that will take me to ask you these important questions. Now, talking beyond professional sources,
Yes.
and then what impact or legacy would you ultimately like to leave through your career, leadership, and contribution to society?
For me, it's about impacting the human being. At the end of the day, I want to be able to say that, I've touched people's lives, those that have passed through me, whether personally or corporately. No one is perfect. We've all made mistakes, and
Yeah.
we still continue to make mistakes, and things like that. But I think for me, the key is to be able to say that I was able to impart, knowledge, to those that have come my way. Say, for example, those, and there are a few examples of people who I've either worked with here or in Nigeria who have gone on to do, great things, or even greater things than I have than I have done, and that gives me joy. For somebody to be able to see me and say, ah, my God, this and this,
Yeah.
but that person is already, sometimes even way, higher than I am. So that is one thing, so to leave that impact, um, I think that's important, and to help wherever I can, it's very important. At the end of the day, we're human,
Yeah.
and my thinking and for me, my philosophy is that there's enough room in the sky
Yeah.
for everyone. If I know something, if I have knowledge or a skill, I should be able to pass that on to anybody, whether up or below, or even to the next generation. To share that knowledge, share that skill. There's no point holding. If that person then tomorrow, rises up to, become greater than me or whatever, then so be it. To God be the glory. But at least I know I've done,
Contributed.
my bit.
Yeah.
So I think that is where I want to. There's still a lot more I want to do in life.
Yeah.
No,
You've got a lot of the world. You've got a lot of things to give
so
to the world.
even outside of work and
Yeah.
things, there are things in my that there are people that need to be helped in so many ways. There are people that need to be helped, whether spiritually, financially, education wise, in different areas. So that is where I think my passion lies in the long run.
Recording
So
in progress.
at the end of the day, I want to be able to say that I've left a legacy by impacting lives. It's yeah.
This is interesting. And before we go today, I want you personally, where do you see let's return back to where we started from.
Yes.
And where do you see the banking sector in the United Kingdom in the next 2 years?
That's a very good question, which no one can predict, to be honest. But if you want my opinion, in the next 2 years, I see AI really ramping up. I see AI doing a lot of jobs in the banking industry. Um, I see that there could be, this might not happen we're already seeing it happening. It might ramp up, it might not be within the next 2 years, but I see a situation whereby, especially the high street banks, the retail banks, I foresee maybe a lot more branch closures
Yeah.
because things will be done digitally.
Ultimately, yeah.
Yeah, with AI, with things, and there might be less need to interact with humans. I love human to human interaction
Interaction, yeah.
anyway. I'm old school that way, but it is what it is, and that's where it's going. So that's where I see a lot of focus in that area. I see a lot of focus on fraud in terms of risk management,
Yeah.
fraud, AML will continue, and the fight will then be with a lot of AI tools, like I said, before, and yeah, basically that's where I see, the industry in the UK going.
Yeah, I think for many of our students, that may just be joining or get to meet you. Would like you to introduce yourself again as we come to a close, because I want to say to all the government officials, the students of the London School of Global Entrepreneurship from different parts of the world, and those of you based here in London would like him to introduce himself once again, because if you need someone to probably, because I think the West and the developing economies need people, we put, like I said earlier before we call it a day today, that we need to begin to talk and get the people with the right skill set to manage the financial institutions back in developing economy. And that is why we do what we do here in London School of Global Entrepreneurship. And we've set something up in Africa, which we hope we could do.
Yeah.
So just introduce yourself again, finally. And not introduce this time. I don't know what I'm trying to get the right word here. Okay, can you just say what you do once again, and then provide a counsel, so because we are doing a lot with the African continent at this point in time, working with several governments and from the African continent. As you introduce yourself, as if you're speaking to the president of the nation, what would be your advice for them regarding the financial sector? What should they be looking out at this point in time?
My name is Mr.Toyin. I'm an anti-financial crime expert with a specialism in anti-money laundering. In terms of what needs to be done, and I've said this before,
Yeah,
there are a lot of experts, even on this call that I've
yeah,
joined now. There are a lot of experts who I know that need to be brought, back home.
okay.
Their voices need to be heard. They've had the unique opportunity of working in two different ecosystems. Okay, so for us, Nigeria, for some other African countries, and then they've also had the opportunity of working here in the UK. They can marry, they're in the best position to marry the knowledge and the experience they've got from working here in the diaspora and the experience they've got from back home. Those people need to be brought together and their voices need to be heard. It's time we start to do things on merit with the experts and not just man no man or
Well,
body and
yeah,
things like that. So that is the message that I want to pass across. The time has come because Africa is ripe
yeah,
and we need to get it right. And the only way you can get it right is to use the right people with the right skill set in order to get the right
yeah,
outcomes. So, and these great minds would be able to help us formulate the policies, the processes,
Recording in progress.
the procedures, and the execution to make things happen, not just at, of course, from a national level, but you'll trickle it down all the way to, various enterprises, commercially and things like that. So that is the message that I
wow,
want to,
wow.
to pass across.
And
The time is now. The time is now, and we mustn't miss this time. The time is now.
thank you so much, Mr. Toyin. It's what a joy to have you come
It's a
to
pleasure.
the LSGEL campus here. We are so glad to have you. We hope one of these days you may be part of the master series to just, well, We hope someone like you will be very expensive to get, but we hope we will see how we can come into an agreement
No
and see how
problem.
you can talk to some of our executive students from different part of the world.
No problem.
And
That's
thank
cool.
you for your
Thank you.
time. We're grateful.
Thank you for having me. Like I said, it's been a pleasure being here to be able to express myself on this platform. And yeah, some of those experts that I talked
Yeah.
about, some are listening in, some may not be, but I will be sending them your way as well.
Please, we would like to get as many of them as possible because one of the things we're doing is getting the experts speak to people of power, people in power. And there's been so much revolution taking place at this point in time in the business ecosystem in Africa and Asia, putting the think tank together. So, like you said, this is the time. The kind of partnership we need, the kind of collaboration we need is so important that we begin to talk and we begin to network. There's so much resources out there to maximize, and so that is why I appreciate what you just said, and I want to really thank you once again for coming to
No,
the LSGL.
no, thank you very much. The experts are
Okay.
there,
Okay.
and I will send them your way.
Please, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, for every one of you joining us today, this is the Pi Show being put together by the London School of Global Entrepreneurship and Leadership here in the city of London, United Kingdom. We are glad you joined us today, and for those of you on that's connecting via Zoom, YouTube, we want to say thank you, thank you. Looking forward to the next Pi Show. We hope one of you will be our next guest on the Pi Show. You want to talk. Okay, is there someone with question? You have question to ask? Is there you want to ask question to Mr. Toyin before we go? You can unmute your mic and we'll just give you the opportunity to talk to Mr. Toyin. Is there any one of you that want to ask Mr. Toyin question? I feel this is unique. Any of you out there, just unmute your mic and then we can get um, any of you out there, you want to talk? Or are we good? You're all excited with Mr. Toyin. There's no need to ask him any question. We know the people.
Maybe they'll ask me personal questions behind the scene. Maybe they're all shy, so they'll call me after the call and say, that comment you made. How do you? Yes.
Okay, that's good. That's fine. I can see comments out there. Okay, someone said, Mr. Tommy, you can unmute your mic and speak. We can hear you. Mr. Tommy, you can unmute your mic.
I think it's a miss.
Okay, miss. Okay, go on.
Hello, is a she, not a
Oh,
he.
so sorry. My apologies.
I'd just like to say well done. Well done, Toyin. We're proud of you.
Oh, thank you, Mrs.
For the
Ajayi.
beautiful outing.
Thank you
Well
very
done.
much. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's lovely. Actually, well done, man. Great job. I'm so proud of you. That's the truth. Okay, if there's no one speaking, I want to say thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day. Take care of yourself. Try and be safe. We thank God the weather today is a lot better here in London, and I don't know. We believe everyone is safe. For those of you from different part of Africa, we have people from Indonesia. We have, so I want to say thank you. God bless you. Have a lovely weekend. Remember, those students, those of you in the master class, you have your program on Monday. Get ready for your class and do not miss your section. Till then, take care of yourself. Love you all. Bye for now.
Recording stopped.